Imagine a world where a decision made in a distant government building in Baghdad or Hanoi could fundamentally alter your financial future overnight. This isn't the plot of a spy thriller. This is the palpable, electrifying reality that a growing number of astute investors and currency watchers are quietly betting on right now. While the mainstream financial news is fixated on the dizzying heights of the stock market or the volatile swings of cryptocurrencies, a parallel, much quieter financial revolution is allegedly taking shape in the shadows of the global currency markets. We are talking, of course, about the long-awaited and perpetually debated revaluation of the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnam Dong. For decades, these currencies have been the subject of intense speculation, hope, and for some, profound skepticism. But what if I told you that the whispers have reached a crescendo? What if the early, unverified reports trickling out from certain circles suggesting that quiet preparations are underway are not just another cycle of baseless hype, but the faint, early tremors of a genuine geopolitical and economic shift? The very premise of this potential event is staggering. The idea that a currency valued at a fraction of a penny could be reassessed to reflect its nation's true, untapped economic potential, turning modest investments into life-changing wealth. This concept is so powerful that it has created a dedicated global community of holders, all waiting with bated breath for a single announcement. The core of the argument for the dinar's revaluation rests on a foundation that seems unshakably logical. Iraq is not a poor country. It is a country with immense wealth that has been trapped in a cycle of conflict and political instability. Beneath its desert sands lie some of the largest proven oil reserves on the planet, a natural resource that continues to be in global demand. The logical economic question then becomes, how can a nation so rich in a universally valued commodity have a currency that is valued so low? Proponents argue that this disconnect is an artificial artifact of past regimes and ongoing reconstruction, not a reflection of Iraq's inherent economic worth. The recent years have seen Iraq take significant, though often slow and painful, steps towards stability and economic normalization. They have been working towards meeting the international standards set by financial bodies like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which often include having a stable and internationally recognized currency. The whispers now suggest that behind closed doors, the final pieces of this complex puzzle are being put into place. The chatter isn't just coming from the usual online forums. It's supplemented by interpretations of statements from Iraqi officials, reports of new international banking agreements, and observations of infrastructural upgrades within Iraq's financial system. The narrative is that the country is preparing to reintroduce itself to the global economic stage not as a war-torn nation, but as a serious economic player, and a key part of that reintroduction is a currency that commands respect. This isn't just about making foreign currency holders rich. It's about national pride, sovereignty, and facilitating easier international trade without the cumbersome burden of a drastically devalued currency. The process of deleting zeros from the currency, a topic often discussed in Iraqi financial circles, is seen not merely as a technical change but as a precursor to a broader revaluation, a symbolic shedding of the old economic skin to make way for the new. The air is thick with a sense of imminence, a feeling that the long night of waiting may finally be giving way to a dawn of a new financial reality for those who have positioned themselves for this very moment. The quiet preparations you are hearing about are the actions of those who have connected these dots and are ensuring they are not caught off guard when and if the historic announcement is made. They are not gambling. They are, in their view, making a calculated decision based on a confluence of economic indicators, geopolitical progress, and insider-level reports that suggest the wait may finally be nearing its end. Now, let's pivot to the other powerhouse in this speculative currency arena, the Vietnam Dong. While the dinar story is often framed around oil and post-conflict recovery, the Dong narrative is arguably even more compelling because it is fueled by a tangible, explosive, and sustained economic boom that the world is witnessing in real time. Vietnam is no longer the struggling, developing nation of the past. It has rapidly ascended to become a global manufacturing hub, a darling of foreign direct investment, and a strategic economic counterweight in Southeast Asia. Major corporations from Apple to Samsung are shifting massive portions of their supply chains into Vietnam, bringing not just factories but technology, expertise, and billions of dollars in foreign capital. This influx of capital creates immense pressure on the local currency. A nation's currency is, at its core, a representation of its economic strength and stability. When an economy is growing at a blistering pace, attracting international investment, and consistently posting impressive GDP numbers, the fundamental question arises, shouldn't its currency reflect that strength? The current official exchange rate of the Dong, many argue, is a managed float, kept artificially low to maintain a competitive advantage for exports. This is a common and valid economic strategy. However, the theory posits that this cannot be a permanent state of affairs. As Vietnam's economy matures, integrates further with global financial systems, and seeks to combat internal inflation, the government will face increasing pressure to allow its currency to appreciate to a more realistic level. This isn't about a speculative revaluation, in the same context as the dinar. It's about a necessary economic adjustment to the new realities of a powerhouse economy. The recent shake-up in the dong rate you may have heard about refers to subtle but significant shifts in the State Bank of Vietnam's policies and the narrowing gap between the official and black market rates. These are critical indicators watched closely by experts. When a central bank moves to stabilize and strengthen its currency, it is a clear signal of confidence and a step towards international normalization. The reports of early preparations for a dong rate change are rooted in the analysis of these policy moves, combined with the sheer momentum of the Vietnamese economy. It's a story of fundamentals. Look at the skylines of Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, constantly evolving with new construction. Look at the nation's digital transformation and the rise of an affluent middle class with significant purchasing power. These are not the signs of a weak economy with a correctly valued currency. These are the signs of an economy that has outgrown its old monetary skin. The potential for the dong is seen as a slow burn, fundamentally driven appreciation rather than a single overnight event. However, even a gradual, steady strengthening over a few years could result in monumental gains for those who hold the currency today. The quiet preparation. Here is the act of acquiring the currency at its current historically low levels, positioning a portfolio to benefit from the long-term economic ascent of a nation that many are calling the next China in terms of growth potential. The convergence of these two stories, the dinar's potential for a dramatic, sovereignty-driven revaluation and the dong's foundation for a steady, growth-driven appreciation, creates a unique and powerful narrative for global currency watchers. It represents two different paths to the same destination, the realignment of a national currency with the true, underlying value and potential of its nation. One is a story of post-war redemption, the other a story of economic emergence, and both, according to the latest reports and analysis, are reaching a critical inflection point that you cannot afford to ignore if you have ever dreamed of participating in a historic wealth transfer. So, where does all this information leave you, the individual investor, watching from the sidelines? The swirling rumors, the conflicting reports, the passionate believers, and the vehement skeptics. It can be overwhelming to distill a clear path forward. The first and most non-negotiable step is to engage in a ruthless pursuit of education and sober risk assessment. Let me be unequivocally clear. The potential currency market we are discussing is arguably one of the highest risk speculative investments imaginable. It is laden with complexities, influenced by unpredictable geopolitical events, and, unfortunately, targeted by unscrupulous actors pushing misinformation and outright scams. Therefore, your journey must begin with a foundation of verified information. Do not rely solely on any single source, including this one. Cross-reference reports. Follow international financial news from reputable outlets like Reuters, Bloomberg, and the Financial Times for macroeconomic context. Read the actual statements released by the Central Bank of Iraq and the State Bank of Vietnam, rather than relying on second-hand interpretations. Understand the profound difference between a currency redenomination, which is simply the creation of a new unit of currency to simplify transactions, and a revaluation, which is a fundamental change in the currency's value relative to others. This knowledge is your armor. The next step is to manage your expectations and your capital with extreme prudence. The golden rule in this space, repeated by every serious commentator, is to never invest more than you are absolutely prepared to lose entirely. This should be speculative capital. Money that, if vanished tomorrow, would not impact your ability to pay your mortgage, feed your family, or save for retirement. The allure of life-changing wealth can cloud judgment, leading people to bet the farm on a hope and a prayer. That is not investing, that is gambling, and the house always has an advantage. The quiet preparation of savvy individuals is not about mortgaging their homes to buy bricks of currency. It is about making a small, calculated, and disciplined allocation within a much larger and well-diversified portfolio. Their preparation also involves the logistical side. If a revaluation were to ever occur, the process of exchanging the currency would be fraught with its own challenges. Which banks or authorized dealers will facilitate the exchange? What documentation will be required? What are the tax implications in your country of residence? These are not questions to be asked after the fact. They are questions to be researched and understood now. Establishing a relationship with a financial institution that has a history of dealing in exotic currencies is a part of this logistical preparation. Furthermore, cultivate a healthy and permanent sense of skepticism. If someone promises you a guaranteed outcome or a specific date for a revaluation, you should immediately view that claim with extreme suspicion. The global foreign exchange market is the largest and most liquid market in the world, and it cannot be predicted with such certainty. The true path is to assess the underlying fundamentals, understand the geopolitical trajectory, acknowledge the very real risks, and then make a personal decision based on your own research and risk tolerance. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is a long-term, high-risk speculative hold based on a fundamental belief in the future economic prosperity and monetary reform of two specific nations. The journey requires patience, fortitude, and an unwavering commitment to staying informed through the noise. The final and most important preparation is the mental one. You must be prepared for all outcomes, for the possibility of profound success, but equally for the possibility of waiting for many more years, or even the total loss of your capital. This emotional grounding will allow you to make clear-headed decisions and prevent you from falling prey to fear or euphoria. The landscape is shifting, the reports are intensifying, and the sense of anticipation is palpable. But in this high-stakes environment, your greatest asset is not the currency you hold, but the knowledge, discipline, and patience you cultivate while holding it. The quiet preparation is, therefore, as much an internal process of education and mental fortitude as it is an external process of financial positioning. If this information has sparked your curiosity and you believe in being prepared for potential global financial shifts, then your next step is absolutely critical. I want you to take this knowledge and build upon it. Do not let this be the end of your research, let it be the beginning. Go down into the comments section right now and share your perspective. What do you think is the most compelling piece of evidence for a potential currency realignment? Or what is your biggest doubt and question? Let's get a real discussion going. I read as many comments as I can and often jump in myself. Furthermore, if you found this deep dive valuable, the single most impactful thing you can do to support this channel and ensure you don't miss the next crucial update is to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. By subscribing, you are not just watching a video. You are joining a community of forward-thinking individuals dedicated to uncovering opportunities on the global stage. We are just getting started, and the coming reports are going to be even more revealing. So, subscribe now, get your notifications on, and I will see you in the next video where we will break down the latest developments even further.